Okay. I've been trying to break this to you guys for a little bit, and I just haven't been able to come up with it. It's been a couple of days, and we got to talk about what's going on with this thing with Chris Jones. Everybody's fired up, and I think we got to take it a step back. It's just going to be okay.
They have talked, Chris's people and our people, and that's kind of where it's at.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay is probably the right term for it, and that's really what it's going to come down to. Okay is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exactly what everybody wants. It's not going to be what Chris Jones wants. It's not going to be what the team wants. But it's going to work out, and I think there's a lot of talk right now about maybe the Chiefs don't want Chris Jones anymore. Maybe he doesn't fit the scheme anymore. None of that is actually happening. All that's going on is the normal process of trying to get a new contract on a guy who has been rising but not steadily. He had a breakout year last season. And because he was so good, the market does demand that he be paid more. Now, they still have some options, and we'll talk about those. But what it comes down to is the market sets what the market sets, and he has to come to that too. It's good as a negotiating ploy, philosophy, you know, the way that you want to go about trying to get this new contract. It's good to set those precedents and to make high demands and to try to set yourself as though you are one of the elite in this particular league. And the rumor is that Chris Jones's people are asking for, looking for, I don't know about demanding, but I've seen that in print, the kind of contract that Aaron Donald got. And that's just a little bit too far for a guy with his level of production to this point with other options on the table. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to continue to work from that standpoint. They're up here, Chiefs are down here, it's going to increment here, and there's going to be that come together point. I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen before camp, like I've said on the show many times. And if you haven't seen or heard the Locked On Chiefs podcast, check that out, because there's opinion on there. It isn't just mine. So I think what has to happen, though, is one of two options. Either they get to the point where they can agree on a number. I think it's beneficial for Chris to be in camp on time. I think his camp understands that as well, because you want to accrue a season. You don't want to take any risk. Fines are going to start adding up for a guy who isn't making that much this season, at least in terms of the overall picture, and you don't want to give up money for no reason. So I think they're going to get to that point, and I do think it is going to get done. That's how I feel right now from everything that I've heard going around. Maybe that changes, we don't know. But there's still that pressure that comes. So if they can work it out, maybe he's a couple days late, maybe not. Maybe they can get it done beforehand. I think it's going to be right around that threshold, because the looming season is what's going to drive the player onto the field, because you want to get going. You don't want to risk in it not working out and effectively being a contract year where you're not at your optimum and losing some ground. Truly not a big deal with his change to the new defense. Yeah, it'll take some getting used to, a little chemistry, a little timing. But certainly capable. So I don't think it's about whether he can play or not. He's not falling behind drastically, but there are little things, you know, getting used to your teammates, getting that chemistry. I think that's going to be important. So the earlier the better for him, but also at the price that he wants. The second big option, and I think this is what happens if it's just too stubborn or it's just too much, even if the Chiefs agree that it should be too much. This may happen too. And if they get to that point, Chris Jones representatives could get to a point where they feel it's not in his benefit to continue to push right now, and that's fair. If you just don't feel like it's going to get there, there is a point where you can put negotiations aside, and I feel like the second option is them doing that and saying, okay, we're going to let him play this season. We can talk behind the scenes a little bit between representatives, but let's leave Chris out of it. A lot of players don't want to think about their contract while they're in season because they're trying to perform, and that makes perfect sense to me. So you might see it come to that point where they just don't want to continue. They're going to put it aside. And for the agent, that's putting a little bit of emphasis on getting your player to make sure that he performs again, because that's going to be the ultimate push for what that salary is going to be. But also, you can get to the point where the contract's over, and that would force a team, assuming that Chris Jones continues to be the player that we've seen, it'd force the team into looking at the franchise tag. Because he doesn't have a fifth-year option, because he's not a first-round pick, that kind of limits that. So for the agent, if there comes a sticking point, there is that possibility where, hey, I think he's going to continue to perform. I think I'm going to get more for him next season, and force them into a decision about the franchise tag or a negotiation at that point. And if he does have another back-to-back season like I expect, and I think like you all expect, that kind of performance like last season, something comparable, would force them into what I think will be an even higher contract. So I do think it's in both parties' interest to get it done as soon as they can prior to this camp. I have my fingers crossed, and at the end, I think that's what's going to happen. So, tell me what you think. Option A, do they get it done? Option B, do they just put it on hold and come back and possibly look at a franchise tag next season? I want to know your comments. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe, click the bell, and you have some options there in your notification settings about whether you get all the notifications or just the lives or whatever. Make sure you make that how you like it. And leave your comments below. If you like what I'm doing here, leave the thumbs up and spread the word. Any shares that you can put out on social media will always help this channel grow, and I will appreciate that. I'm going to continue to do this kind of vlog style format. I've got some film projects I'm working on as well as a couple other things that I'm going to try to add in. So I appreciate all your guys' time. Thanks for checking out the Mondays in the Q&A. Those are great. We're going to keep those rolling. Check out the videos that are coming up here, and I'll talk to you next time.